Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this session. My name is Gurbinder Singh Pun, and in short, GP. I'm a board member at ICF Oman chapter, and I am looking after having our education events and sessions for the ICF Oman chapter. Today, we're very happy to have with us Dr. Clare Becket-McInroy, who's an innovator, she's an author, she's a ICF MCC, and a mentor coach. And if you go to her LinkedIn profile, you will find many more lovely and interesting accreditations and degrees and the kind of work that she's doing on talent management and coaching. She's been working internally and externally across the globe, and including some Fortune 100 companies with all this leadership development and organization development coach. So today on our invitation, Dr. Clare has agreed to come and share with us very interesting topic on coaches skill development, which is working creatively with metaphors and images. And we also welcome Samira Baba with her, who will be co-facilitating the session together. So let's hear it for Dr. Clare Becket-McInroy, and over to you, Dr. Clare.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation. I enjoy sharing knowledge with other chapters and also learning every time any of us attend these sessions. There's always something that we can take away and then hopefully go and practice with our clients out there as well. So today we're looking at one-on-one coaching and the way images and metaphors can be used. We're also applying that to the ways that logistically they can be used in team or board and group coaching as well. And I bring with me, we flew in together to Oman for this session, Samira, my if you say partner in crime, it sounds bad, so I won't say that. My colleague for many years. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're putting a link in the chat because we're just going to get straight into it. And we invite you to click the link that will take you to a Miro board. If you've never used Miro before, do not worry at all. And when you click the link, you will see many pictures on the screen. When you get there, we will also show that screen here. And then I believe Samira's going to coach me to start with. We'll do a little demo and then we'll invite you either with a similar activity or a slightly different activity to coach someone else as well using the same sort of tools, techniques. And there we are. So the link should be going in the chat.
Right. So I'll bring the link in, and I recommend that you click on it only when you will do your own demo session in the breakout rooms. The reason being, I want you to focus with us in this specific short demo. Then you can implement it and play with it with the Miro board the way you want. Okay, so I'll keep the link here. You can view, copy. Oh yeah, Nancy. Usually Miro is not that good when it comes to mobile, the smartphones. Yeah, but again, we will send you the kind of like a screenshot that you can use. We can do that as well.
And we've also got a sort of takeaway worksheet with activities on. So this session is one piece, but Nancy, there's many other things after that that all of you can have a look through as well. For starting, the middle bit, and also closing sessions.
Yeah. So maybe here, Claire, I'm going to ask you some questions just to, it's kind of an intro to the idea of how we use metaphors in our lives, you know, in daily life. For example, if I said, If your goals had a color, and this question is for everyone in the meeting as well. If your goals, your biggest goal has a color, which color would it be?
Definitely blue, but there's more. It's the color of a deep blue sea when the water's really clear.
You will notice as well, we have people who think in metaphor and colors and images easily. Right? And I can see Preet wrote yellow, right? And metaphors can go with colors. It can go with, right? I have to mean that. Yeah. So metaphor can go with colors. It can go with weather. It can go with cars. For example, if your life was the weather right now, and this is a question for everyone in the meeting, which weather will represent your life right now? Oh, by the same purple. Mother is saying winter, spring. Spring.
I'm going to say an island, the weather of an island, because the weather changes so much on an island.
On an island. And that kind of answer in a coaching session is a beautiful gift that a coachee can bring to explore and create awareness. So you see, it's easy for us to think about things in pictures, states, colors. And now we will experiment this with Claire. Claire, which picture represents where you are in your life right now?
So it's interesting because I'm really drawn to the socks, and I notice there's, if the two socks are together, it's the socks. And I'm also aware that I was looking for a card that was really busy and loads of things on it, because that's how it feels right now. And yet there's something drawing me to the socks.
Say more.
So definitely colourful. There's a lot going on, and a lot of contrast as well, with things that are absolutely in flow. And I see the lines going across the middle of the socks there. It also looks that one of the socks is inside out. The pink one doesn't look quite as, you can't see the words on it. And so, going deeper into that picture, there's some parts of my life right now, the words, whatever metaphor the words are standing for, the words are not very clear.
Where are you in this picture, Claire?
I've got odd socks on. I am the person with those socks on.
What's this like to be the person with the socks on?
First thing that came to my mind was there's some cushioning. They look like squidgy socks, you know, maybe winter ski sock type of thing. The floor, the floor is real stone. So the floor is solid, and I got a real strong feeling here then. The floor is really solid. It's a bit cold. And I notice the shadow in the center. The sun isn't shining everywhere.
What kind of shadow is that shadow?
So it's definitely not a full shadow. I mean, I'm going to left logic here, but it looks like it's about 20% of the picture. It's not full shadow. It's almost like, and when I put my feet together, I can hide that shadow and see the bright colours.
Put the feet together, hide shadow. What happens after this picture?
It's not letting me move. There's something about a positive in being on the cool ground, which a few moments ago, my feet on the cold stone did not feel positive, whereas for some reason now it does. And as opposed to the feet moving forward, there's something important about staying there in the cool.
Staying there in the cool. When you're staying there in the cool, how's your posture on that ground?
So on most days, I'm actually too much over, but I was speaking quite straight back, really, when I've been speaking here. I notice I've gone more serious. There's more room inside to be able to breathe.
Do I have the permission to share?
Absolutely.
So earlier you said, I can feel cold here, and the ground is cold. When I asked what happens next, you said there is positivity staying here. I turned serious, and then you smiled towards the end. What's coming up for you?
So maybe there's a few things that are more serious right now than normal. And yet, my feet are more connected to the ground. I'm going back many years. Feels like another life when I trained to be a teacher. And in my very first teaching practice, isn't it funny just what flies in from nowhere? Flies in. I was in my final report compared to Peter Pan, which felt, you know, fun and light, and clearly the students had excitement and creativity, and it's okay to be Peter Pan, and it's being aware when the feet need to be firmly on the ground. And I suppose the smiles, it feels a bit of maturity. It is maturity.
It's okay. Be Peter Pan and feet on ground. It's maturity. What have you learned from this short session, Claire?
I know that breathing and yoga and grounding practices work for me. And it is that feet on the cool ground or the grass, or even sometimes just a cup of tea and taking the time. And it was a powerful reminder to do more of that. I even feel a bit emotional now. Permission.
What ways do you want us to wrap this session, Claire?
I've just noticed on the green sock, one of the words is more. So there's my message. Do more of that. That's complete. Thank you. We came here to say metaphors and image collage can be powerful, but I know they can. And even with an audience, isn't it amazing how held you can feel and how really reflective that image can be? What if let's go off the road map onto the sand? What if we just gallery view, and and see if anyone else wants to share. You have full permission to debrief or mention anything that was in that session from my part, and I know it's been recorded. Anyone like to share what they noticed in terms of that? What worked? What might you try? What might you have done differently? And if you can't speak or come on camera, by all means, use the chat as well.
I was thinking during this that is important to give the space and the time for the reflection. So allow the pause in the conversation to work.
And I think Samira did it beautifully, Daisy. And isn't it interesting? She did. Even if I didn't say more, sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. There was more processing going on.
Exactly. And I think sometimes using visual tools more, you say, give the space for that. Because sometimes when we talk, there can be a tendency to when we have talked, then we are done. Where when there is a reflection over something where we have to explain why we chose a picture, the thought process is much slower.
And it's fascinating as well from any picture, you know, even if it's chosen randomly, how much can actually come from that. Thank you.
I would like to share something as well.
Sure.
My name is, yeah. So what I noticed is I recently had a client who just came in with without having any idea what she wanted to talk about. So what stood out for me from this particular, using this particular tool is that, in fact, it kind of gave me an insight that, that perhaps this can be used when a client comes in with not knowing what they want to talk about, and then you ask them to pick something, and then they can, like, you know, because I saw how deep the thinking process was for you, Claire, you know, when Samira was coaching you. So I think it's a very good place to start when they don't know what they want to talk about. And also I think like, you know, not knowing where you're going, somewhere subconsciously still there is a reason why you're picking what you're picking, because there is something playing on there, right? So yeah, that was my observation.
And it's interesting because sometimes we may choose a card because it's resonant, and sometimes it may be that card's attracting me because I can't be with it, I can't stand it. But of course, there's so much there as well. I always find with values, what can't you be with? By flipping that helps us understand what we do value. Thank you for sharing. I loved the light through the window behind you. I don't know if that was an image or you're actually sat there with that light, but it looked amazing.
Yeah, that's me, my silhouette there, sitting on my swing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The sun's going down. It sounds quite romantic, intimate.
Yeah. Of sorts, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Just one thing there as well. Sometimes it can be nice to invite coachees to have a think before sessions what they do want to focus on. And of course, when using, whether it's, I mean, I've got a hairbrush there, whether it's a image card or an artifact, we're never attached to using it. And yet, honestly, whenever I've used them, it has led to that deep exploration, and quite often stuff that's under the iceberg around beliefs and values and the way someone wants to show up in the world.
Yeah, true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Suresh.
Hi, I must thank Samira and Claire for that wonderful connectedness that both client and coachee displayed. And I thought that you were in that, so-called zone where the connection between the two of you was absolutely wonderful, in a zone where perhaps you were both deeply interacting with each other without any other thing on your mind. And that was really wonderful to get into that connectedness and being in the building trust with the client. And I think this is a wonderful process, using such props in the form of, or tools in the form of, visual metaphors. Most of us, like I do, is I use metaphors which are verbally described, and perhaps using such kind of metaphors may have a better impact, certainly, is what I realize. So thank you for that sharing.
Pleasure. And it's fabulous because, you know, we've in team coaching or group coaching, whether it's sharing images in the room or on the screen in Miro, as you saw, you can even WhatsApp it to people and they've got the images on the phone and then they just show which one they've chosen. What's good as well is for us not to label the image. So for example, I said the socks.
Right.
Samira didn't put the label there to sort of anchor what that image was until I'd said it. Because if we help it, okay, so here's a ladder, here's a flower, here's a sunset, we're actually not working as clean. We're actually putting onto the group or the team or the individual our interpretation of that particular image. So there's another tip as well. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, Claire, just one more point which comes to my mind when you say that, and that is that the client's state of mind in terms of being in the zone to reflect on the metaphor and observe and feel it and comment about it, or say her own feelings about it, is very, very essential. And many times you find the client so overwhelmed with their own circumstance that despite the initial so-called clearing of the space and bringing the client to the foreground with us in our conversation, you still have the client worked up about the problem that they may want to discuss, and it may be very difficult. So perhaps the use of such metaphors could come at a stage where we know the client's so-called emotive response would be what is desired and not the other way around. So that just comes to my mind. Would you share your experience about it?
So it's the sort of yes and, you're right. And sometimes people are not used to this type of thing, but a really easy thing, I remember working with a board, images on the table, sometimes not too many, this was in person, not too many, because that can be overwhelming and take too long. So there was, how many? 7 in the team. We probably had about 20 cards. And it was just pick a card that represents how you felt walking through the door to this meeting. And they were all invited, because this was just a sort of settling into the meeting exercise. Although honestly, we could have stayed there for 3 hours, and sometimes that's the right thing to do. Well, it was literally going round and everyone had about a minute just to say, and one person just said 3 words, and that was revealing anyway, everything's data. So the benefit of that is it can warm people up for using these types of tools in a deeper way as well. And the other thing is, if someone, I've got some cards in front of me here, I'm going to take my Oh, you can see it there. It's actually broken glass. Can you see
Right.
that one? I'll take my background off. I think Samira's going to put it on the screen for you. So what if they choose that? It's okay. Whatever they choose is absolutely fine. And if they're talking about what's yuck and they choose it, you know what? They've chose a perfect card for how they are. Another useful thing, when it's possible, is to get them to physically hold it. And it might be, and what's the weight of that card? Notice I didn't say how heavy. What's the weight of that card or that image? There's a million ways, and just being non-attached and
Sure.
being creative with the questions. I find that clean questions work quite easily with this because it gives more space for them for thinking as well. And the other thing that works well, if anything, I'm never very good at pronouncing this, but Gestalt, is get them to be that metaphor. So I actually said it there with the socks. You know, that wasn't rehearsed in any way, but I said, well, actually, I didn't say I am the socks. I said I am wearing the socks. So I was attached to the socks. But at another point, someone, you know, if they're talking about this, you might say, I invite you to be that broken glass and speak from I am that glass, that, and that open up so much. So, you know, if they're still in a yucky place with image cards, it's a great place to be. It can help unpack things.
Right.
It's those end bit of the competencies in terms of, you know, deepening understanding, exploration, the coach being brave and comfortable with not knowing. And of course, as Samira demonstrated really well, coaching
Right.
presence, holding that space. So it takes practice for us to play with these things as well. Play with other coaches with it, and then we can, you know, sharpen our saw and build up our confidence too.
Sure. Thanks for that.
Anyone else? Thank you. Pleasure. Madam, is your hand up?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Clare, and thank you, Samira. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight. One is the power of silence. I think there was enough usage of silence. It was almost like, you know, like what Daisy said, a good amount of space was given for processing and to share. I think that's something I learned. Another point was Samira did not influence, right? Like, for example, the questions she asked did not give any influence, or it did not infer anything for the coachee to interpret, you know, her own thoughts. So her questions were positioned in such a way that that actually helped the coachee to go deeper and deeper into her own world, rather, because sometimes as a coach, at times I have my own interpretation of the socks. Maybe once, you know, my coachee decides this socks, then I'm thinking, then I'm starting to make my own thoughts about it. And at times it's possible that I can try to influence my coachee to think the same, you know, thoughts that I'm having, perhaps, because obviously I'm having good intentions of helping him or her to overcome and succeed and stuffs like that. But what I really liked in what was demonstrated was the coach decided to just, you know, stay back and be curious, and just be really curious about the coachee, completely being in the moment, being fully empty, and just asking questions alone and listening to the coachee. So that was beautifully demonstrated. So thanks for that.
It was. And there's another thing that it works for me when the coach repeats back my own words like a mirror. It's almost like we hear it even more, even louder. You can even, as they're talking about the card, get them to also exaggerate how they are, what they're experiencing. And, you know, with all demos, that was a little, I don't know how long it was, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. We could have gone really somatic with that, because I was mentioning things that I was noticing in my body. We could have gone systemic. And what way does this experience play out in other parts of your life? We could have gone to action and accountability, you know, to close the ICF competencies. What are you committing to? Or even, what further inquiry do you need to explore before we meet again? So many different ways we could have gone. Did it have impact? Where did you notice that the work we did had impact? Anyone like to share? Anything you'd like to share, Samira, and then we'll let everyone have a play.
Yeah, I was thinking about certain things such as, you know, clean language, what kind of shadow is that shadow? And then I almost felt that as well, you know, the cold part. So I was like, okay, cold is here. Smile without putting a label on, you're happy. I just said, you smiled. And so it's like totally not referring to any specific label there. And then taking permission. Would you allow me to share something with you? Right. So taking a permission to reflect back, the texture or the posture of a standing, because you said I'm standing, the coach said I'm standing. So what kind of, you know, how does that feel? I wish we could have had more time by, you know, letting you stand. Actually stand, and then see how does it feel when you stand on both legs. And the meaning and the reflection was for the coachee. So I really didn't know what the pink and green, and I still don't know what do they mean. The coachee knows. The inverted socks, I don't know what's that, but the coachee knows and noticed that. I need more of that. The coachee said list of things, but there are more, and that's the meaning inside their head. So this is the state of being comfortable and not knowing. You know, it's okay. And non-attachment. If I went somewhere and it's not, you know, the coachee wants to be in somewhere else in that picture, totally fine.
Like if the shadow didn't really go anywhere. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. So here's what we're going to do now. We will share the link. We're going to put you in breakouts. If you can come off your cameras for the breakout, you'll get a better experience. If you can't, we understand. And if you end up in a breakout where the others are not there, they're just driving and listening, for example, just let us know so we can move you to somewhere else. And we'll go in breakouts of about 3. And we invite you to look at the images. And you can do 2 things. You can think of a decision and the pros and the cons, and which image and metaphor represents the good side of making such a decision and, you know, the not so. You can do that. Or another thing is you can just do like I did. Like Samira did. Where am I right now in my life, and what card represents that? You can even, you know, it's a nice one. What chapter of the book of your life are you in right now? That's a nice thing to do. So choose, and all you're going to do is work together, whether it's on one person or you all have a go. Choose an image, use it metaphorically, and play. Anyone, any questions?
You can simply as well, if you're not in a position to have a coaching conversation, you can simply discuss the tool and how do you think you can implement it or similar tools in your own practice as well.
Yeah.
Right, so 3 groups of 4 or 5, enjoy it. I'll leave it for around, let's say, how
8
long
minutes?
is that? 8 minutes, 8 minutes is good.
Yeah.
Okay. See you. Welcome back.
Hello. There's smiling faces there. So when you were playing with the images metaphorically, what was your learning? What was your awareness?
Yeah, I was the coachee, and it was a great experience because the way Simala was asking me those questions, it really helped me to gain a lot of insights about my present state of mind and my life itself. So it was very interesting, actually.
Wow, fabulous.
Yes.
What specifically helped you gain that? You know, what did she do?
I really appreciate the coach Simala because she really gave me the time, and she did not ask too many questions. She kept digging deep into the same question. She kind of took the next question from the same question deeper and deeper. So I think that was very helpful.
Fabulous. Cool. Thank you. Thank you both. Alexandra.
Yeah, thank you. So I really want to say thank you to Preet for this little mini session. I found it so surprising, really, because I didn't expect things to develop so quickly for me, you know. And I was a coachee, and Preet was really building up on everything I was saying. And for me, the surprising thing was that I was really connecting the words, and they were just out of the blue, they would make like a perfect sense. And so Preet was really very present with me. And what I really liked was like, you kept, there was a great dynamics to this conversation, you know, you were just like picking up everything I was saying and really moving me forward. So I really loved it. So thank you very much. And the power of the card, of the 3 words, and you know, like the connection I made, it was like immediate in my head. It was incredible. So yeah, loved it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to
Brilliant.
share. It's absolutely a wonderful tool. And I think while I was observing the whole body language of Alexandra, I could see that whole shift in energy from how she started, and as she moved, I could just see those expressions and then spark and that energy in her. So I think this whole thing, the activity was very powerful. Yes. Thank you so much for bringing it.
Are you itching for more time to practice? Who else would like to share? So one thing we were talking about when we were in the breakout rooms, you know, the more you play with this in partnership with your client or team or group, it just gets easier and deeper, and the flow is there even more. And there's so many different questions. What came before this card, this image? What came afterwards? If you are that image, what's out of shot? No, what cannot be seen in that picture? Who else is there? What else is there? What stands out? Move away from it. What do you notice now? Have it close up. Even things like, you know, if there's a little bit of it that's blurry, what's not clear? Or what would clarity bring? All sorts of things you can play with. Anyone else like to share? Biggest learning from the session today?
I think for me as a coach, using this for the first time, there was a slight initial kind of like, performance anxiety kind of a thing. But then when I started asking questions, I was able to focus more on my coaching. I wish, like, at the end of it, I wish I could go more, like, forward with the conversation. But yeah, because of the time, we couldn't do that. But I think this is a wonderful tool, which I would really love to use in my coaching. And I'm already having so many ideas, as to how I can use this with my clients. In fact, I'm even thinking of creating my own cards, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. And
Do it.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Thank you for that, Samira and Claire. Yeah.
Beautiful. Share them with us on social media when you do, so we can all enjoy seeing that achievement.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Preet.
So we couldn't access the image cards, but we could access the other pack, where 3 words were there. And the biggest insight for me was, it was beautiful seeing Alexandra finding the challenge in one word, looking at the whole situation in the other word, and getting on to the solution in the third word. So it was beautiful that everything was there in those 3 words. Yes.
The universe sends it to us.
Sure. Actually, that's really interesting, because maybe that what was the whole thing for. So if we zoom out, we can see both the words. And we didn't really talk about words, right, Claire? But that was for Alexandra.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And doing this online with teams and groups, it's amazing what you can do. For example, what is the purpose of your team? And they can all choose a card, what they believe is the purpose. And then you ask them to create together, sharing, generative thinking, adding to each other's ideas, either a few cards together or even deciding on one card. And now you've all explored together, what is the card that metaphorically represents your team purpose? That can be even a 40-minute, an hour session. And in that, there's elements of, embedding skill drills, listening to understand, appreciative inquiries in there. You can even get existential work on, life purpose. All sorts of things can be blended into this. Why are we a team anyway? There's an existential question. Anything to add, Samira, before we close?
you so much. I mean, ICFM on always creative, dedicated, so organized, Claire, isn't it? They're always so organized.
Totally.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure being in this space with all of you coaches from all around the world. Thank you so much. Thank you, Claire, for sharing it with me. And Clay, and we'll see you around.
And thank you for my coaching today. I was going to coach Samira, and then just before the session, it was like, oh, coach me instead. So I needed that today.
Thank you both, Dr. Clare and Samira. And on behalf of our Oman chapter, may I present a certificate to Dr. Clare Becket-McInroy. Thank you so much for your presence today and sharing these wonderful tools with our coaches. I will send this certificate over to you. And sorry, Samira, I didn't know you will be co-facilitating, so I'll get your certificate to you as well very soon. So thank you so much for being with us today, everybody. We do these sessions every month, sometimes 2 sessions in a month. Please stay on our mailing list, and if you would want to know more about the calendar and how we get these sessions done, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you, Dr. Clare. Thank you, Samira. Thank you, all the members. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Shukran
Thank you so much.
Shukran.